So we just sold our own house in 4 days in the worst market in 30 years. So I'd like to take you through step by step, and we're going to explain all the things that we did to stack the odds in our favor. Now, I don't mean to imply that this is solely because we're such experts, because the truth is we do have listings out there that are sitting on the market. It's a problem for everybody. But in this case, we were able to do every single thing possible to stack the odds in our favor. And it all started with getting everything out of the house. Isn't that right, Pat?
Yes, we decided actually to move in just a day. And by the third day, due to social media and just having a good presence on Marketplace and just other places, we got most of our own furniture out because our own furniture wouldn't have fit at the other house that we had.
That's right. And we were fortunate in that we already had another place to live. So it's obviously some of the things that we're going to tell you today are not always practical for everybody or even possible.
Right.
But step number one, before we put the house on the market, was actually two steps. We'll combine these two. We wanted to get an inspection done on the house, just to find out if there's anything wrong with the house that needs to be fixed that we didn't know about. And inspection went really great.
We always recommend doing a pre-inspection, but a lot of folks don't want to do it. They'll just figure they'll, save the $300 or $400 or $500 right up front and do the pre-inspection. But we really feel like a pre-inspection gets rid of any objections down the road. If you have an electrical problem, something to do with the HVAC or the roof or the plumbing or anything that you may not know, a pre-inspection is going to show that. So we did have our inspector come out, inspect our home just as if you would inspect any other home. And fortunately for us, there were no 4-point issues, and there was very, very minor little, like a stopper in a sink or something like that just needed fixed.
Now, those 4-point issues are things that would affect the insurability of the house. Now, what are those 4 points, Pat?
So if someone asks you about a 4-point, it means that they're going to be checking the roof, they're going to be checking the HVAC, the air conditioning, they're going to be checking all the electrical in the house, including the electrical panel, and they're going to check the plumbing, make sure there's no leaks and nothing wrong with the plumbing that would be an insurability issue, because you have to pass a 4-point in order for a house to be insurable.
That's right. And in this case, it was great. There wasn't anything that needed to be fixed that we didn't already know about. And there was just minor things like a faucet that was kind of stiff and just little things that we just lived with because it didn't matter to us, but they do matter to a buyer. So what we did was we made sure we fixed everything.
And I do want to say that even before the pre-inspection, so we bought our house in 2012, and there's some windows over here that they hadn't ever worked. They didn't stay up when we lifted them up, but we didn't have our windows open. But it was something that we knew about. It didn't matter to us as the buyers. It didn't matter for the last 13 years, but we didn't care. We hired a window repair company, and there was actually 5 windows that wouldn't stay up in the house. Unbeknownst to us, we paid for those to be fixed. So if you have something in your house that needs repaired, okay, so we didn't enjoy getting those fixed for the last 13 years. It didn't matter to us. But for the next buyer, I really believe that it matters. And I think actually from a safety perspective, those do need to be fixed. The other thing that we fixed in the house was, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but our ice maker never worked from day one. We didn't have water and we didn't have ice. And we paid for a company to come in, an appliance company, to fix that because we wanted to get the best money for the house and we didn't want anything to stand in its way.
And also, we didn't want to have to scramble during the closing period to have to get somebody in here. If we already knew something wasn't fixed, we'd get it fixed when we had plenty of time to do it. And again, you don't want to have the pressure of having to do things quickly because it puts stress on you and it also costs more.
Yes.
So once we got all that done, we went to work on getting the house to look the best it can possibly look. We repainted the inside and the outside. Now, we already had nice neutral colors in the house, but if we had any, really bright colors or anything that was specific to our tastes, we would want to make it a lot more neutral, because that way it gives people no excuse to dislike the house. And with the painting, that really makes a big difference. Pat did a lot of work on the outside too.
I did the yard. Chuck worked on the inside of the home, a lot of work on the inside with painting and just getting everything ready. But I worked on the outside, and it worked for long days, long hours. I did like shells in the backyard. I did over 4,000 pounds of shells placement in the backyard. And I wanted the backyard to be very serene and pretty. We did have a shed back there, which I had this bright idea, let's get rid of the shed, because it was a 12 by 20. And it was a huge shed that took up the yard for what we needed, but the next person may not have wanted that big shed in the yard. And as it turns out, the people that are buying our house are looking to put a pool in, and that area is perfect to put a pool in. So if you do have like something, I want to say odd, in your backyard, think about either donating it or getting it on Marketplace and getting it out of your yard, like we did with our shed. I think we got like, I don't know, $2,500 or whatever it was for the shed. And a professional came, a man who wanted the shed, professionally moved it, no problems at all getting it out of our yard. And if you have something like that in your yard, you may want to think about getting it out to make your backyard look its best. And that's what we did. And a lot of landscaping in the yard, both on the backyard and on the side and the front.
Yes, and I mentioned earlier that we're in the worst real estate market right now here in the part of Florida that we work in. It's the worst one in 30 years. So properties are sitting on the market. So if you want to get the property sold quickly, it really has to stand out, and it has to be priced right. So of course there's certain things you can't change. We can't change the location of the house. We're fortunate it's in a desirable location. You can't change the layout of the house. Fortunately, the house is laid out nicely. But the things that you can change, you want to do as much as humanly possible to make that house look like someone could just move right in. All they have to do is bring their clothes and just move in.
Yeah, that's why you were mentioning about the paint color. So we use, it's called Sherwin-Williams Antique White, and it's a very neutral color, very pleasing to the eye. Someone else may not like the color, but we have lived here 13 years. It's been 13 years since the house has been painted inside, which is a very long time, and on the outside as well. Because when we moved in, we had the whole house painted prior to moving in. So that's a long time, in between having it painted. And so that's why we, use this neutral color, freshened up not only the walls, but we did all the moldings, the crown molding and the base molding. And, just to make it all very pleasing. And you have to differentiate yourself from all the other houses that are active on the market. And that's what we really strive for.
Yeah, and I was really surprised at how much the fresh coat of paint freshened everything up. Everything looked nice. It didn't look like it needed repainting, but after we did it, oh, what a difference. And washing all the windows, making sure everything is perfectly spotless, it really made the house stand out.
Yeah, washing the windows is really amazing. I don't remember what the percentage is. I think it lends in like more than 80% of lighting or something. What was that figure? Do you remember?
I've read some studies that say that if you clean your windows, there's actually twice as much light coming in the house. And everybody wants a house that's nice and bright and light and airy feeling. Which
this house is. It's a very bright, open house. It's very airy and light, and people love that. The other thing that we did have going for us with the house is the condition of the home. We've lived here 13 years and we've maintained this home extremely well. When we first moved in, we put gutters on, so we never had like water infiltration. we live in an ex-flood zone, so that's another thing too, where, a lot of folks don't want to have to pay flood insurance. It could be, the wild card. So we're very fortunate that we live in a no flood zone. So when we purchased the house, we purposefully looked for a house in a no flood zone, and that was 13 years ago. So knowing what exactly you want really helps when you're actually looking for a house to begin with. And right now we had a lot of people come through, and like the first thing a lot of them came through who were actual buyers, not just neighbors coming through on an open house, and they actually came to the house because it was in an ex-flood zone.
That's true. Now let's talk about the one thing nobody wants to talk about, pricing strategy.
Yes.
Now, when I say pricing strategy, it really is a strategy because everybody's got different needs. In our case, we wanted to sell the house quickly because every day that it's sitting here, it's costing us money. It costs us money for electricity and other utilities, taxes, insurance, everything. It's costing us money to sit here. So in our case, we decided on a strategy to help it sell quickly. Again, everybody's got different needs. But the biggest problem that we see with houses sitting on the market is when they start off too high. And believe me, I'm not criticizing anybody because nobody has a crystal ball, and it's really easy to misjudge because this market changes on a week-by-week basis. So what we did is we employed our pricing strategy. Now let me tell you this, if we had sold this house 12 months ago, it would have been $100,000 more. But you have to put that out of your mind because we weren't looking to move 12 months ago. We're looking to move now, and the house is worth what the market says it's worth now. It's whatever we can get today. So we priced it appropriately. We did a lot of research, and one important thing that a lot of people overlook is what the competition is. We took a look around the area at other houses that were similar size and similar amenities, and we took that into account because if somebody's walking around with a certain amount of money in their pocket, we want to see, okay, what could you buy today for that amount of money? And we want ours to be the one that they would choose. So we priced it appropriately. Now, again, there's so many variables. We're not trying to say we're geniuses, but we priced it to sell. That way we didn't get into that endless treadmill of constant price reductions that it kind of feels like chasing a ball down a hill at that point.
So I do want to talk about the pricing a little bit. So this all started, I will give you the date. August 7th is actually the day. We just decided in one day to move, and that was August 7th. So the ball started rolling really that day with us, fixing up the house, doing landscaping. So this is October 31st, that we're doing this video. And so you're almost like 3 months in. But every day since August 7th, I have been looking to see what came on the market, what was active on the market, and what was pending in not very far away, like 15 days, and what had sold in the last 15 days. And I did that up until last Friday, because last Friday is when we actually just listed the house. So we're just talking a week later, 7 days later. So every day I would look to see what came on the market, what's active, what is around us that is going to be a competition for us, and what does it look like? What street is it on? Is it on a busier road than ours? What does it look like inside? And all of those things we took into place when we were going to be listing our house.
And we do that every week while it's on the market.
Yes,
because things change.
Things can change. Things can change. Actually, I know Chuck said weekly, but things can really change daily in pricing. You'll get emails regarding a 10,000 price reduction or 20 or whatever the amount is. And you need to be aware of exactly what's happening in your individual market where your house is located.
Your house is worth what it's worth. Unfortunately, we don't get to decide what this house is worth. The market does. And the best time to sell your house is when you want to move. Now let's talk about one thing that we think is really exciting, staging the house. So in this case, we were not going to live here. The house is vacant. So Pat, tell everybody what we did.
So there's a company that I really like who does professional staging. It's called Limelight Staging. If anybody wants their phone number, they work here in this area. They were fabulous. I've seen their staging before and I loved it. So everything that we owned was completely out of the house. And they came in, and this is a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home, and they staged every single room. And it looks beautiful. They staged the dining room. Every room has a bed in it. The primary bedroom has a king-size bed. The bedrooms in this house are very large bedrooms with 10-foot ceilings, actually. So the house is a very large home, and the beds look beautiful in there. The other bedrooms are queen beds. They could have put king beds in there with no problem, but we didn't want to overload the room up either. But Limelight Staging did a great job, and if you're thinking about staging your home, I would absolutely look around at different companies, but staging makes the difference. I had people come in here when we did our open house and they said, oh my gosh, this looks like a model home, and it did. It was very clean, just beautiful, and everyone felt very, very comfortable throughout the home.
The idea is to make it look like some place that people would really want to live, that they could envision themselves just sitting right down and enjoying the house. Now, let's talk about how people can stage their house if they're still living there, because many times you live in the house while it's on the market. So here's how to do it. First of all, depersonalize the house. Get all the family pictures down. Anything that's specific to you and your family, get it out of there, because this is going to be somebody else's house. We recommend getting pods. Get everything out of the house that you don't need to live. Just all the minimal furniture, minimal clothing, minimal everything. Get as much out of that house as you can and into that pod. Now that does 2 things. It gets you one step ahead when it's time to move, and it also makes it look like your house has plenty of room for everything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yes.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is if you've got too much stuff in your house, furniture accumulates over the years, clothing accumulates over the years, it'll make the house look smaller, and it'll make it look like there's not really enough room. So those are things that you can do to, again, all these things stack the odds in your favor. Now in this case, everything lined up great. We did everything possible to stack the odds in our favor, and we found the right buyer very quickly. Now there's no guarantee that it'll happen in 4 days. We were very fortunate in that regard, but all these things do accelerate the process. Marketing the house is vitally important, especially in a slow market like this. The days of being able to just put it on MLS, stick a sign in the yard and it'll sell, those days are gone. They may be gone forever. So we have to actually market the house. Now, we started off by letting everybody know on social media that we were moving. And of course, we did garage sales, that kind of tied in with it. Get people to come over to the house, show them around, tell them that we were going to be selling it in the near future. And that kind of set the stage a little bit so that when it was time to put it on the market, we did our social media campaigns, we did paid advertising, we did everything we always do for clients, everything that we recommend. Professional photography, virtual walkthroughs, professional video, had a floor plan rendered, everything that buyers need to really want to come see the house. So the marketing, again, it's vitally important because the whole idea is statistically, the first offer you get is probably the best, or it has the potential to be the best. So we want to get the biggest pool of buyers as fast as we can. And that's what we did. We really hammered open houses. We scheduled them up. Fortunately, we only needed to do one, but we got a ton of people coming through. We're lucky we've got a couple of busy roads nearby, so we could direct people here just off the street. But the open houses, that's an important part of the process. A lot of realtors don't like doing open houses. But it doesn't matter what we like. It matters what works, and that's an important part of the process. So is the paid advertising and the professional photography. All of those things cost money, but spending that money is the way that you make money. If you go cheap on stuff like that, you'll get substandard results. It just goes without saying. So we did everything we could to market it. We got a lot of people to see the property as quickly as possible, both online and in person. And that's when we found our perfect buyer. Okay, just to kind of summarize everything, here's what we did to stack the odds in our favor and to be able to find the right buyer as quickly as we could in a very, very slow market. Step number one of pre-inspection. Make sure everything is fixed so there's nothing that people would have an excuse to complain about when they're buying the property. Step two, make the property look its very best. We painted inside and out. We got it super clean. We made sure it looked its very best. Yard, inside, everything. Step number three, we staged the house. In our case, the house was vacant, so we had professional stagers come in here with their own furniture and make the house look like a model home. Now, if we were still living here at the time, we would have gotten some pods, got everything that we didn't need to live out of here, and just kept the bare necessities and made sure everything looked great with the stuff that we already had. Step number four, pricing the house to sell. We don't get to decide what the price of the house is. The market's going to decide. And the only way to find out what the market is going to bear is with extensive research and by just doing the work of seeing what the competition is and what's been happening here in the local market, because real estate is hyper local. And then finally, marketing. Getting it out in front of as many people as possible so that you get the biggest pool of possible buyers as quickly as you can. If you do all those things, or even the ones that are possible or practical, each one of those things all add up to help you to sell your home faster and for as much money as possible. In this case, we're really fortunate. We got the house under contract for our asking price in just 4 days. And that's when everything works together and comes out perfectly. And that's what happened here. So thanks for watching. If you've got any questions about real estate, or maybe you know someone that's got questions, just ask us. We'll tell you anything you want to know. We're always here to help. So thanks again for watching.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.